Welcome to the Birds of Forest Lake on the 1st of October 2021. We were just coming out of lockdown. As I left the car park, I walked through the areas that are usually overrun with mostly very small children, and I don't normally take photos of this area because it's the little children there and they don't want to appear in my videos. But today there were none there, so I was able to show you their play area and the shelter sheds that have usually got people sitting in them. I'm always so happy to see the peewee. It's one of my many favourite birds. Usually there is one around here, sometimes there's two. And there's a Dusky Moorhen. It's one of a group. They've got chicks. That's a Dusky Moorhen chick. They're getting a bit big, these chicks. There's other tiny chicks around as well. These ones are probably a week or two old by now. I think Dusky Moorhens are the ones that I see the most of recently when I walk around the lake, although a lot of other birds are there as well. It's breeding season and the Dusky Moorhens seem to have been the ones that started first, or they might have been among the first few that started. I know the first one I saw sitting on a nest was a Dusky Moorhen, and it was in the area where these chicks are now. They're quite small. I think they're a bit smaller than the ones we saw closer to the playground area. This video is quite long compared to others that I've made, but that is because there are just such a huge variety of birds that I came across. There are several birds in this video that I've never included in a previous video because I've never got photos of them before. So there's lots happening, there's tragedies, and there's interesting behaviours that the nesting birds get up to. I like the way how that one is having a little bath. It's good when they do something unexpected while I'm actually videoing them. Of course, there's no time for me to get the camera up and focused if they start doing something like this when I don't have the camera on them. So I'm always excited when I have the camera when they do something unusual. I love to see the tiny featherless wings on these chicks. This lake seems to be relatively safe for them, which is probably why there are so many birds breeding here at the moment. But there are dangers for the chicks. There's eels in the water that like to eat them, and I did one day see a bird of prey when I was at the lake, but there was quite a commotion and it circled for a couple of minutes and then flew off. I think it decided that it was just too difficult, or maybe it wasn't really hungry. Cormorants in the tree there, and I spotted an egret just standing on the grass there. I thought that was really unusual. You know, it's usually walking around in the lake hunting. The Dusky Moorhens were being quite prolific in this end of the lake on this day, although they often are found down here because this is where a lot of chicks are. The nest was close to where they are at the moment. But we'll move on and we will see other birds shortly. I love it how the little chicks are on the water lily leaves. It's a family affair looking after the chicks. It's not just the parents, it's also the chicks that were hatched the previous 2 seasons that are there to look after the current season's babies. And there is an Ibis flying over. At this point, I was still totally clueless as to what was to come, in spite of the egret being there with its breeding plumage and all the cormorants suddenly being attracted to these trees. I gradually became aware that things were happening with the cormorants and the egrets and possibly the ibis as well, because there was often an ibis standing guard at the top of that tree. I'll say goodbye to the Dusky Moorhens for a while, because now we've moved on a bit. There's 2 tortoises on that rock with a swamp hen standing guard over them, and here's another swamp hen just walking along the path. And there's a grebe. They're so shy, it's very hard to get photos of them. They just try to escape as soon as they see you coming. There's 2 of them there. That yellow waterweed, here's a close-up of the yellow flower. There's a closer peek of the tortoises with the swamp hen. It's a wonder the swamp hen hasn't chased them off. They usually chase everything. I find the swamp hens seem to be quite aggressive with all of the other creatures. They'll chase them off a rock just for the sake of it. Now we've got the coots and the coot babies. I like it when I manage to get a bit of video where there's a mother or a guardian of the chicks trying to find a tasty bit of waterweed to feed to the babies. Sometimes if you look carefully at the photos that I've posted, you can see that the adult bird is actually passing something to the little one to eat. The chicks of each of the 3 species of birds we've looked at so far are all very distinct in their appearance, and that is the Dusky Moorhens and the Eurasian Coots and the Swamp Hens. Now this process was so fascinating that I just stood and watched until it was almost finished. I managed to snap a couple of shots right at the end. But as I watched, there was about half a dozen birds, coots, taking the water lily leaves, picking the fresh water lily leaves and delivering them to the bird on the nest, who was carefully taking them from her helpers and placing them carefully either on her back or on the nest. She had just moved when I took the first photo, and the leaves that had been on her back had fallen off. Later on, in this same video, I found some other birds doing the exact same thing, and I managed to get video of that, so if you watch to the end, you will actually see them doing this, finding sticks and leaves and passing them on to a nesting bird. In earlier videos we saw the wattle flowering, and now the flowering has finished. We've got seed pods on the wattle trees. Here's another family of dusky moorhens with their chicks. They're quite a long distance from the first family that we saw. This coot surprised me. It seemed to be in an awful hurry, and all it did was join up with that other coot, and then they went for a little swim together. I spy a little pied cormorant sitting on a rock over there, and there is a sleepy pelican. I was a bit worried, thinking it looked like it might have been sick, but I think it was just sleeping. I finally got around closer to the pelican, and then I realised it had one eye fixed very firmly on me. Here is a swamp hen with some chicks. I often come across swamp hen chicks alone, running up and down, cheeping loudly, looking for a parent. But this couple actually had some birds there with them. And then a third little chick appeared out of those bushes, just near the rocks. Here it comes. And there was a couple of other adults around as well. But that one just wandered off and left them on their own. But you see, there was another bird down in there, in amongst the rocks. I'm just around the halfway point of my walk around the lake. It takes me about half an hour or a bit more to get to this point. And of course the reptiles turn up randomly at any place around the lake. There's a tortoise. And here is a little pied cormorant. I love to see this bird. It's one of my favourites. There's Pee-wee, another favourite. I'm about to start heading towards the bridge that I walk across, where the road goes over the creek that runs into the lake. A small pond close to the bridge is at a higher level than the rest of the lake, and there are water lilies flowering in it. You'll see the photos I got of the water lilies as I cross the bridge shortly. And that's the bottle brush flower. And there's the water lilies in the little pond. The water from that little pond flows into the rest of the lake through the rocks of the little weir. Now, as a warning, we're about to see the results of a tragedy that was occurring as I walked across the bridge. This little bird had built her nest, we saw that last episode, and she had laid her eggs and she sat on them for about 10 days, and just as they were hatching, her nest was attacked by an eel, and she fought bravely to try to save her babies, but she lost one of them. She had 6 eggs and now she's only got 5. But there is one egg with a little beak picking through, so they are hatching, and look how sad she is. She's just standing over, being so sad that she wasn't able to save her baby. I wasn't there when it actually happened. I was just walking towards it, and there was a person standing just above the nest on the landing, and she videoed the whole thing on her phone, and she told me about it, and she showed me the video, and I saw the eel in the nest. The eel was quite big, and it only had its head and upper body in her nest. It was very sad. I don't know what happened since then. Next time I went for a walk, the nest was abandoned, so I'm hoping the rest of her babies all hatched out successfully and that she was able to keep them safe until they grew up. Now, on a happier note, remember earlier in the video we saw the coots carrying water lily leaves to give to a bird sitting on a nest. Well, here we've got the Dusky Moorhens doing the exact same thing. And there are the Grebes. They always get away from me. That's the Grebes making that sound. They don't like you walking near the lake when they're in it. On the right you can see a Dusky Moorhen swimming towards the nest with a long stick in its beak. It's going to go and hand it to the bird that's on the nest. And there's another one behind it with another stick, and there's several of them actually swimming all around trying to pick leaves, whatever they can find that can be added to the nest, and handing it to the one on the nest. I'm a bit confused about this nest because there's chicks in it as well, and there's chicks swimming around behind her. I'm not sure why she's adding to the nest. Maybe it's been used once and she's going to lay more eggs in it. I don't really know what's going on there. See it close up, you can see there's all those chicks in it, and there's chicks swimming. There's grebes swimming around in the background there. Looked like a peewee that just flew across then. So there's a whole lot of helper birds helping with the chicks and the nests and all sorts of things. It's a real family affair. There are lots of seats all the way around the lake, and I try to sit on not every seat, but maybe every second or third seat I come to. Just don't want to wear myself out. Doctor's orders, don't overdo things. So that's why I sit. And then I see all these extra things that I wouldn't notice if I was just walking past, worried only about how fast I could walk around the lake. See, it's got a leaf there, taking it over to the nest. It seems happy with that leaf. It's going real fast. I found something real good. Here, look, see what I've got. And it got accepted too. Added to the nest. Glad I was sitting down to see all of this. You can hear the adult bird cheeping, calling the chick to where there's some good food to be found. A bit like a domestic fowl clucking for its chickens to come and eat. I've heard the Dusky Moorhens doing this as well. The tortoise is on a rock and behind a rock, pretty much in the centre of the screen on the right hand side. It had been raining and there were lots of these yellow flowers scattered on the grass just below a tree that they were growing on. I came across a darter and I'm a bit confused about the brown colouring. I think this could be an Oriental darter rather than an Australian darter, but I'm not a darter expert so I don't really know. But its colour is very different from what I'm used to. And in the background here we've got what looks like a coot and a little black cormorant diving for his dinner. See how the cormorant's beak is very different from the darter's beak. And there's a dusky moorhen and a few more of his friends. And Eurasian coot. Another look at the darter. It's definitely a different type of darter, not ones that we usually see at the lake. This blue-faced Honeyeater. Was very surprised that I could get some sort of a photo of it. And here is the Grebes, and there are rainbow Lorikeets in the Grebes eating the flowers. They're nectar-eating birds. You can hear them screeching, the parrots. If you've been watching my videos, you'll have heard the parrots in the background quite often, and I've never been able to really get a good photo of them. But now you've seen them, they're the ones, they zip past you. Sometimes they nearly knock you over as they fly by, but you've a bird going that fast, there's no chance of getting a photo of it. Just some of the weeds that grow along the lake. They're very good for the insects. And that's the cultivated plant that's near the edge of where the lake is. And what a surprise! A superb fairy wren, little male, darting along here, chasing the insects that were living in the weeds. I think he's just getting a little bit too far away for my camera to cope. So we might say bye-bye to him here and continue climbing up the hill towards the car park. Oh, and look, and there's another one. And there's the lake. And it looks like a bit of lantana Another quick look at the little black cormorant and the darter. The darter's got me confused. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to give it a like if you did enjoy the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye for now. I do hope you enjoy all the lake birds.